Hey, welcome to Yellow Ball, the first episode of Yellow Ball, right, Ashley?
That's right.
Great
I'll take
commentary.
it away. All right.
Uh,
I'll take No, no, no. I got it from here. I got it from here. This episode, we're talking about the Women's College World Series recap. Looking at the Power Five here. If you're unaware, Oklahoma has become the national champs for their third year in a row. Really,
how impressive is that, honestly, though?
I,
Like, it's not just like they've won it 3 years in a row. They've only lost like 5 games in the last 3 years,
I think it's pretty close to five, if it's not five, which is just
and
insane.
just dropping tanks on everybody.
Which isn't recent. They've been dropping tanks for quite some time, all the way back to Lauren Chamberlain, which was what, like 2012, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Patty Gasso's been there for 30 years, so
Well, when you're a winner, you're a winner. What can you
anyway,
do?
so Oklahoma wins for the third straight year in a row. Florida State is a runner up for the second time in 3 years. So a little bit of a powerhouse in their own right.
But you don't really, I never really expected Florida State for the past like 5 years to be up there, up and running. You always expect, unfortunately, you always expect Oklahoma. I didn't never expected Oklahoma State to become how they've become. But then I always SEC critic over here, always rooting for the SEC to be in it, and they just kind of trickled down, and FSU came running up, literally runner
Right.
up,
Yeah.
literally.
Would you?
Thank you, thank you. Keep that. I'll keep that in my back pocket.
Yeah. All right. Utah makes their first Women's College World Series trip since 1994. Super impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty
Uh,
sick.
Came out of a pretty tough regional. Played San Diego State in the Super Regional, who upset UCLA. And unfortunately, they're 2-2 in the World Series, but like that's still super impressive. That's almost 20 years.
Yeah, getting there was impressive for me, and the upset
Yeah,
for UCLA. I mean, that's just again, you don't expect it. UCLA is one of those from the Pac-12 that's always dominant.
right. And I mean, obviously they were the host last year. They were the number one seed in their regional, and then just just pooped the bed
This
on that
just
one.
did not. Yeah.
Just just did not take care of business.
Yeah, lost.
Stanford. Well, go ahead. Go ahead. What are you
Oh,
saying?
I was just gonna say lost a close one to Liberty.
Yeah, and
That
that was the one that knocked them out, wasn't it?
yeah, wake up call.
Yeah, for sure. Hmm.
Now on the old Stanford.
Yeah, so Stanford makes their third Women's College World Series appearance in program history. They a respectable 2-2 last year in the World Series.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I'm
can
not. I, they had that pitcher. I don't want to mispronounce her name, but I mean, having a less than a 1 ERA. I think there was maybe only a couple other pitchers to do so, and one of them was with Oklahoma. So I mean,
Jordy Ball.
incredible. Jordy Ball. That's right.
Just absolute craziness, that one.
Oh, then the old Lady Vols, Volunteers, baby, win the SEC, make it to the World Women's College World Series, 2-2. Could have done better. Would have loved for them to do better. But first trip since what, 2015? Yeah,
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
complain.
yeah. I mean,
Can't complain.
they were pretty impressive last year. They put up some big power numbers and with
Yeah,
Kiki Malloy. Um, what was that
McKenna
other girl's?
Gibson.
Yep. Booty. I can't remember Booty's first name, but
Booty.
that's yeah, her last name is Booty.
Interesting. I don't know that one. Are you sure?
I'm dead serious. I'm 100% positive.
Interesting. What a fun last name.
Come on, dog. That's your team,
I
and you
I
don't.
just I just don't recall anybody named Booty. I mean, you got Zeta, you got Mackenzie Donahue. Are you
Zeta
sure
was
that's not who you're
dropping
thinking of?
bombs too. No, no.
Well,
Donahue was really good last year too, but no, it was boot. You're gonna make me have to look it up now.
Rockin' Bro. I like that last name.
What?
Rockin' Bro. She's on the balls. A fun last name. Oh lordy. Well, while you look that up, I'm gonna keep going. Oklahoma
Okay.
State. Fourth straight Women's College World Series appearance. Cowgirls are kicking it into gear, but they only go 1-2 when they get there. That's tough. Uh, they finished what, second? Oh no, Texas might have finished conference runner up last year. Yeah, Oklahoma State got a little beat up by Kansas. That's what happened last year to them. But they got to the Women's College World Series and went 1-2. So Big 12 is still being held down by Oklahoma. Again, not surprised.
Yeah,
Then
I
you got
mean, what did
Alabama.
you expect?
Yeah, but
All
it's a
right, so
powerhouse.
let's stop with Alabama for a second, real quick. Alabama, they came real close to just
But what, 1-2?
dropping the ball and
Oh,
not even making
against who?
it. It's
NTSU, wasn't it?
yes, yes.
Home team. Yeah, that was actually insane. Alabama.
Not,
I
not,
used to be an
no,
Alabama softball
nothing.
fan.
Yeah, nothing bad towards NTSU. NTSU was clearly a solid program last year. To take it to Alabama in Tuscaloosa, go 3 games, and like that, you don't do that with Alabama. That's not normal.
No, you don't.
But for them to for MTSU to go toe to toe with Alabama, like that's super impressive, and I would not be surprised if they continued another season like that this year. They continue to have success. Back to Tennessee and Booty. Her name was Lair Booty. She was number 2. She played infield. She was a sophomore, so she's clear this year.
All right, well, I'll be sure to keep a close eye out because I
You
must have
should.
overlooked it.
Her last name is spelled Beautae, and it's pronounced Booty.
Didn't you just spell beauty? Beuty.
It's
T. What did you say?
Tae, and it's pronounced.
Boutte.
I'm. It does say Boutte on the website, but I heard numerous analysts last year say Booty.
That's probably right. The analysts typically know what's best.
I mean, I'm sure the great web designers over at the University of Tennessee, I'm sure they got it right with Boutte. So
Okay, I'll just
Miss
let you.
Lair,
What do
Miss
I need to
Lair
tell you?
Boot.
You're right.
No, no. Even though I am,
Uh,
but
well,
Miss Lair Boutte, if I mispronounce your name, I do apologize. But you're pretty stellar last year, so just trying to give you some credit.
let's see who we got after Alabama. Washington, the old Huskies. Fourth
Yeah.
appearance in
So
7 years.
yeah, I mean that's pretty consistent.
It is pretty consistent.
They go 1-2, not great, not terrible on the same status as Oklahoma State, who's been pretty consistent with 4 straight um, appearances. Yeah, so obviously Oklahoma's third national championship in a row is super impressive. Florida State being runner up for the second time in 3 years is really impressive. Utah making it for the first time in almost 20 years. That's the most impressive to me. Um, I mean, it's really hard for a program to get to the World Series in the first place, but to make it there for the first time in almost 20 years. Like,
Yeah, and you know that feels good too for the coaching staff and the players as well. I mean, you got to think they're probably 10 years, even 10 years after not making it is, like, man, this really, it's just, I don't know. I guess after almost 20 years, it's got to be a different kind of feeling. Almost, you'd almost wonder, would it be a better feeling than for Oklahoma to win 3 years in a row? Which there might not be a feeling better than winning a national championship, but to know how much you accomplished and changing the direction of a program in 20 years is nice, I'm sure.
yeah, I mean, you got to think too that like the alumni of that program are just like they were just over the top, through over the moon proud of that what that team was able to accomplish.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I'm gonna be honest though, like Alabama going 0-2 in the World Series, huge, huge disappointment. Montana Fouts last year, and Alabama goes 0-2. Like,
Yeah, I don't really know what
I
happened
mean,
either. I mean, they stellar team all season.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. They kind of got off to a little bit of a rocky start.
Mm-hmm.
They got off to a slow start. So that they were definitely not the same team as the year prior. Um, I know losing Bailey Hempill hurt a lot.
Oh yeah.
Um, but like you said, they were still really good.
Well, and two, you got to remember. Oh, was that last year? When was it last year? Montana Fouts got hurt in the middle of that.
Yeah,
Might have been her. Yeah, was that last year?
yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I mean, still, even Jayla Torrance, I think is how you say her last name. Might be mispronouncing that one too. But I mean, she still came in and did a heck of a job too. She had an ERA close to 2. So I mean, I don't know.
At the end of the day, disappointing to see them go 0-2, not win a single game at the World Series. Like, and I understand, like every single team that's there is really good.
Right.
So just winning one game is hard to do, but you expect in Alabama to win at least one.
For sure. And it's crazy too that there's certain teams that you expect to just make it to the Women's College World Series every year. Not necessarily to win it. I like Tennessee fan, obviously. I don't expect Tennessee to win the national championship 10 years in a row, but like now they've made it for the first time in since 2015. I can't do the math, but for the first time since 2015, now I'm expecting it, next season and continuing on. 8. You're right. Yeah.
Eight
Yeah, it is
years.
8. Brain don't math over here.
That's all right. I got an English degree. I don't math either.
Well,
I do not do the maths.
well,
All right. So if we want to talk about the regular season here, going by each individual conference. We start with the ACC. So their regular season ended up as you would think based on the teams that were in the World Series. Florida State wins the conference. They win the regular season going 22-2 in conference with a 58-10 overall record. And then they win the conference tournament and a pretty close matchup against it was against Duke, right?
yeah,
In
it
the
was
conference
against Duke.
tournament. Yes, it's like a one-run ball game, huh?
Yeah, close call for
Um,
him too.
and Duke finishes the regular season prior to the conference tournament. They finished right behind Florida State. Like really good
Mm-hmm.
program. They finished 19-5 in conference play, 48-11 on the year. Um, again, like a really, really good team. Dude, unfortunately, has to play a bunch of really, really good teams
Best of the
throughout the
best.
year. Yeah. But that's why they're as good as they are, is because they play those really high level teams. Um, let's see. Clemson, another one. Man,
You got one player who does it all, man.
Clemson has
Unbelievable.
Valerie Cagle, dude. Like she's just on an island by herself. And mind you, Florida State has freaking or had Catherine Sandercock, who just like led that team, put the
Unbelievable
team on her
pitcher.
back in the circle. Yeah, like just phenomenal. And Florida State has dogs top to bottom in their lineup. But I mean, really hard to do anything when you don't have someone in the circle. So I feel like you got to give a lot of credit to Catherine Sandercock on that one. Just being the workhorse for the team and
Oh yeah.
carrying them to a second place finish in the nation. Um, with Duke, you had Anna Gold, as we've learned how to pronounce her name the other day.
Yes.
Um, stellar third baseman. Hit quite a few home runs last year. We'll talk more about that in the next episode, or in not in the next one, but episodes to
In the
come.
coming episodes, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so Duke finishes runner up in the conference tournament. Um, Clemson finishes third, and Louisville gets upset in conference tournament by Virginia Tech.
That one, I know that one stung. I know it stung. Bad.
Absolutely, it had to have. But in the coming episodes, we'll take a look at why that happened, and it might not be as surprising to some folks. It, when you start looking at all the numbers, like definitely didn't
Makes
surprise this guy right
yeah.
here.
Makes a little bit more
Um,
sense when you break stuff down.
yeah, but Virginia Tech upsets Louisville to advance to the semis, and they get put out by Florida State in conference tournament.
To be expected.
Uh, right. Uh, and then as far as the ACC's postseason is concerned, obviously Florida State goes on to host a regional, and they advance. Then they host supers, and they just slap Georgia around for 2 games, and they advance to the Women's College World Series and finish second in the nation. Losing to Oklahoma, Duke makes it to supers, and they go 0-2 against a really good Stanford team who, as we talked about earlier, went
Pitcher.
2-2 in the Women's College World Series. Uh, Clemson makes it to Superners. What are Superners?
Soupeners. That's the people that make soup.
Oh,
They
okay.
work for the Campbell factory.
Right.
Yeah.
So Clemson makes supers, and
Tough draw.
you
Getting
have you
Oklahoma.
have yeah, right. You have the USA Softball Player of the Year on your team. Still no match for an Oklahoma. Like, I will say though, Clemson, even though they went 0-2 against Oklahoma, they fought tooth and nail with Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they gave
That
them every ounce of effort that they could possibly give.
that second game, Clemson was winning going into the bottom of the seventh.
Mm-hmm.
And Oklahoma just clawed their way back, and they end up hitting a walk-off bomb. Like,
Yeah. Which, I mean,
crazy.
Oklahoma's been clawing their way back on people for, I mean, years. Because all it takes is one through nine. One hitter for them can be a homer. That's all they need
Yeah,
most of the time.
yeah. But to Clemson's credit, like, if Clemson beats Oklahoma, they have just as good a shot as anybody else to win the World Series.
Well, I think especially with having Valerie Cagle, I think Clemson could take it to the house. And then you look and you turn around and you see maybe they could still play Florida State, and then you get ACC matchup for the national championship, which would have been really cool. Always
Yeah,
fun when it's
for sure.
conference versus
Uh,
conference. In conference, I
yeah.
guess.
Um, Louisville goes 1-2 in regionals. They get put out by really, really good Indiana team who was just dropping nukes last year. Um, Virginia Tech, they get an at-large bid. They were 39-20 on the year, 14-10 in conference. And remember, they finished not finished. They upset Louisville in the
Right.
conference tournament to advance to play Florida State in the semis. Um, but they get an at-large bid, and they do pretty well in their regional again in the Athens regional. Um, Ultimately losing to Georgia in the finals. Like Georgia was a really good team
Tough
last year
Georgia
too.
team.
Yeah, a really tough Georgia team. For Virginia Tech to do what they did, um, I mean that's kind of like a Utah, just impressive. Was not obviously not good enough, but still
Right.
very very impressive. Still very impressive. Then you got Notre Dame who gets an at-large bid. The 19-1 on the year. They went 11-12-1 in conference. Not a great conference record by any means. Like that's under 500. Um, but their overall record kind of pushed them over the top a little bit. Um, Gave the committee a reason to give them a bid, a regional bid. They go to Fayetteville in the Arkansas regional, and Arkansas puts them out. Not unexpected, but I mean
Right.
when you're talking about a Power Five conference who whose top four teams in the conference represented in the regionals, and then they also had two other teams represent the conference. Like that's a pretty strong conference.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. I do want to note though the whole Notre Dame record of 30-19-1. The one just makes me mad. I don't. I think I don't think ties, and I know there's certain circumstances, I understand it, but I don't think there should ever be a tie in the sport of softball. It doesn't make sense to me. Why not
yeah,
just play another inning? Why why do you have to
yeah,
end in a tie?
but I mean, if you think about it, what if it was a Sunday night game? It was already in extras. They had to catch a flight or something to that effect. Like, all right, let's just bang this game. We got to hit the road. It sucks, but it is what it is. Like, yeah, I get it. I understand, but it's not like a professional. Uh, it's not like a professional athletics team where they can like this is all that they do.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
We
I
still
guess
got to
they
keep in
gotta
mind.
wait.
I mean, you know as well as anybody since you played college softball. Like I played college baseball. Like we're not just athletes,
No,
so
that
we
would make
can't
our lives
just.
too easy.
Oh yeah,
No,
for real.
no class, just get to play a sport that we want to play. What a life to have.
Right. Yeah.
Just kidding. Wake up, 8 a.m.'s tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You got an exam Monday morning coming in hot,
yeah. Maybe that's what it was.
which
Maybe they had over half the team in the same class. They got an exam. Hey man, we got to call it. These kids got to study. Oh, okay, yeah, for sure,
I'm
bud.
yeah, I'm willing to bet not, but we'll give Notre Dame the benefit of the doubt on that one. Uh, but that brings up this whole conference realignment thing. We'll get into that in another episode, but
That
tough,
conference
tough.
realignments.
All
Hmm.
right, so moving on to the Big Ten, yeah.
Yeah, Big Ten.
All right, hit us up.
Big Ten, you got Northwestern wins conference tourney. Not super shocked by it. They went
Yeah,
42-13 on the year, 20-3 in the conference. Been not necessarily dominant, but I mean, been a strong team for a few years, bringing a lot to the table each year, competing each year. So not shocked that they won the conference tournament. Not
yeah. I mean,
shocked.
when we're talking about their lineup specifically, though, like they had experience.
Oh,
Like,
a lot of it. I wrote it down. So hold on. Let me grab my notes over here. I wrote it down. They had like 11 or 13 or some funky number
yeah,
of upperclassmen.
they had they had graduates out the wazoo, dude. Like
Yeah,
they had grad softball students just falling out their pockets last year. Just girls who had a ton of experience, and that being softball game experience and just more overall body development where just like lifting weights and stuff, like they're just
yeah.
bigger, faster, stronger. Like when you're in your fifth or sixth year, depending on if you were able to use a COVID year or whatever, right? You're in your fifth or sixth year, you're a grad student, and so are all your other teammates, and you're playing these
18
other
year
teams
olds.
who have yeah, who have freshmen and sophomore freaking starting for you. Like, yeah, of course they're gonna out overmatch them a little bit because they're bigger, faster, stronger. They've been doing it longer. So yeah, to see them win the conference tournament and put up the record that they did, like it's was not surprising.
No,
But anyway, second team got Indiana.
not super shocked by that one. They had strong player, strong player in Taryn Curran, who they kind of,
Yeah,
I mean,
23 bombs, bro.
freshman, right?
Yeah,
Freshman hitting 23 bombs. I didn't even hit 23 bombs in my whole career.
me either, bro. Me
23
either.
bombs. What does it feel like to be so powerful? Just walk up to the plate, boom. All right, there's another one just added to the book. Yeah, no, Indiana goes 44 and 18 on the year, 18 and 5 in conference. Conference tourney runner up. I mean, me personally, not gonna front here. I don't keep up with much Big Ten, and really any sport that I watch. I don't really watch it in football, basketball. I don't really watch any Big Ten.
I
I've paid
keep up
attention
with
to
it in
Northwestern.
football, but more specifically just Michigan and Ohio State because that's all that matters in Big Ten football. Penn State too this year. Most years Penn State's in the mix in the beginning and then they
Yeah,
disappoint
and then they
and they
trickle
fall
down.
off.
Yeah, I
But
don't.
yeah, like I don't follow Big Ten softball very closely. Um, but I knew by the time we made it to regionals, like I knew Northwestern was the real deal. I knew Indiana was the real deal. Um, I knew Minnesota was pretty real. Nebraska was a little bit of a surprise.
Shocker.
Just
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't say shocker. I mean, they still finished in the top four in their conference for the regular season and in the conference tournament.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, you look at a 36 and 22 record, a 13 and 10, like they're just an average. I mean, a little bit above average Power Five school. Didn't put up like super impressive numbers or anything like that. Just a fairly solid team who got a chance. Um,
Right.
as we see when we move on into the postseason, like Northwestern, they win the conference tournament. They also won the regular season. Obviously, they host a regional. They win their regional. They advance to supers, um, and they
Rammer
lose.
jammer.
Yellow baby. Alabama. They lose the supers to Alabama. So if we go back to Alabama, MTSU almost put Alabama out in the regionals, not
Hmm.
supers. Yeah. Um, but either way, like super impressive for MTSU. Um, but Northwestern drops supers to Alabama. They gave them everything that they wanted, though. Like Northwestern took it to them, stole a game,
Oh yeah.
or not. I wouldn't say stole a game because they were like every game was close. Like they just happened to come up short. Somebody's got to lose, and it just happened to be
Eventually, yeah.
Northwestern. Um, I personally don't think if Northwestern wins that Super Regional, I don't think they go 0-2 in the World Series.
I don't know because I mean, I don't think they're making it all the way.
North, I don't think they are either, but I think they win at least one. Northwestern had better offensive numbers than Alabama did last year.
Yeah, if you look at Alabama's numbers, if we're being completely honest, Alabama's offensive numbers were nothing like they normally are.
No, they were down,
Yeah.
way down.
I think the team batting average, I don't even think they batted above 300 as a team, did they? Might have been close.
No, no, Northwestern didn't either. But I think Northwestern was like 289. And I think Alabama was lower than 280.
Now see, that's what's two
And
eighty.
that and that's not normal for Alabama.
No,
But
Northwestern's was 290.
290. Yeah,
290.
I said about 289.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean like not super impressive team numbers, but not bad either.
No, 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 not at
Um,
all.
I like I said, I think if they had gotten past Alabama, I think they at least win one in the World Series. Um, I think they were. I personally think that they were just a little bit better of a at least an offensive team. Um,
Oh
I think
gosh.
the way it all fell, it just fell Alabama's way in the end. Um, because like I said, they put up a fight, a really really good fight. Indiana goes 2-2 in the Knoxville regional, and they get put out by Tennessee in the finals. Um, again, like
Feel like they're competing though.
yeah, like like
Obviously everybody competes. You got to compete to get where you're at. But I mean, I just feel like almost every single regional and super regional. I mean, I just feel like at least two of the games were dogfights. I mean,
yeah,
the teams were scrapping for every single run they could put up on the scoreboard.
yeah, like I have to go back and look at it. Um, but I don't think like Indiana didn't go 2 games with Tennessee, but
Now they had somebody in between. Louisville, maybe? No, they had somebody in
um,
between. Let's
no,
see.
yeah, they played Louisville first. They won 4-3. Then they go and play Tennessee, and they lose 9-1. Um, then they play Louisville again, beat them 4-2, and then they face Tennessee again in the finals. They lose 7-3. So like, not necessarily the closest ball game, but an not just an outlandish scoring affair for
Yeah.
for Tennessee. Like they
Mm-mm.
they they definitely had more runs in them as they had proven all year long. But I mean, just not a bad showing by Indiana by any means. Tennessee, a really really good team. It was going to be tough to beat them anyway.
I
Uh,
wish I had that on recording, and I would play it about every Tennessee sport every day.
well, you can't say it about every Tennessee sport.
I didn't say it about most.
Mm.
Most. We did win the All SEC Sports Award, so I mean, obviously something's working there. So
Yeah, okay. Don't kid yourself too much.
go to Minnesota. Let's go to Minnesota. Minnesota goes
All
one
right.
and two in the regional. They got put out by McNeese State.
Yeah. So McNeese State was a pretty solid team last year, but you don't expect the Power Five to get put out by a group of five. Like
No, you don't.
it's just
But
not.
that's what's good about the game. You never know.
That is true. That is true. But like you said, like Minnesota is a Big Ten school. You expect Minnesota to be better in the regional. Um, I mean, going 38-18 on the year, 17-6 in conference, like it's a pretty solid record.
Yeah.
However, I will say McNeese State had a better record. Um, obviously, the better team at the end. Nebraska goes 2-2. They put up a better fight. than Minnesota did. They go 2-2 in the Stillwater Regional against OK State. Again, Oklahoma State, really, really good team. Hard to beat Oklahoma State.
Been putting together a really good program, especially Oklahoma State's been kind of kicking it off, the past like 3-4 years. They've really
Yeah,
kind of
they've been to four straight World Series.
yeah, pretty solid
So,
team. Tough competition. Nebraska not a bad team either.
man, could you imagine walking on campus and your first year and you're like, man, it would be so cool to go to the World Series, and you go to the World Series, and then that's just the expectation every year, and you do it every year.
No, that's absolutely insane to me. To go 4 straight years.
Yeah, that is crazy. So good on OK State. Sucks for Nebraska.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the Big 12. So obviously Oklahoma wins everything.
Shocker. No, I mean, when you look at their tallies of wins and losses over the years, I mean 61-1 last year. 61-1. 18-0 in conference. All right. 61-1. Was it what was that one? Was last year the one game that Baylor beat them?
I think so. Let's look up.
I think it was, but obviously it wasn't a conference game. It was like an early exhibition game or something, and I think they beat them like 4-3.
Let's see. Yeah. So yeah. Last year was the year they lost to Baylor.
Yeah,
Wasn't it the year before that they lost to Oklahoma
Oklahoma
State? Like,
State.
and that was like late in the season, wasn't it?
It was. It was indeed.
They about lost to Clemson and just ruined their whole season.
Yeah, 61-1. I mean, if you're Patty Gasso, you just got to be. But that's what you expect, right? I mean, 3-time back-to-back-to-back national champs. Now
No,
you're
dude.
61-1.
No. I don't care if you're freaking Phil Knight, like, or Pat Summit, or I don't know who else.
Another great.
Vince Lombardi.
Ooh, Vince Lombardi's a
Like,
good one.
it doesn't matter. You don't expect to go 61-1.
Well, I wasn't being specific like that number exactly, but I mean, I'm expecting to lose at five games.
I would expect a reasonable amount of games as a head coach. Like, I wouldn't obviously I wouldn't want to lose a bunch of games. I wouldn't want to lose double digit games. I would want to lose 0 games.
Yeah, well,
But
world's not perfect.
all right, but if I'm putting out realistic expectations for a stellar Division I softball performance, I would say 10 games is a reasonable expectation.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you're going 50-10 or
Right.
45-10, right? Like that's crazy. But to lose one game, that's
One
insane.
singular game. And to have just a team of Oklahoma, the team stats of Oklahoma just drive me absolutely insane. Up the walls.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that post game speech from Patty Gasso. Like, you lose to Baylor and it's early in the year. Like, it's still February. It's February 19th. We lose to Baylor 4-3. Like, what does Patty Gasso say? Does she get in their butt? Like, that's your one. Don't let it happen again. Or
is she silent?
is she like, yeah, or is she silent? Or is she like, guys, it's just one game. And then the group themselves, the team themselves, they're just so hyper competitive that one loss just agitates them to their core.
I'm feeling like it came from the players. I just feel like if you watch Patty Gasso, if you watch her, she's just intense, and I just feel like that win might have just pushed the wrong buttons. Maybe she walked in the locker room and was like, maybe she did tell him, all right, guys, like that's your one. Don't let it happen again. And the girls were, firing each other up. Like, yeah, she's right. Like, that's not whatever. But I could also see
Yeah,
her
yeah.
walking in there and just like crossing her arms, staring, and all of them are like, all right, message received.
Yeah, I could see that too. Patty Gasso is like super. She's a hyper competitive person. I could
Absolutely.
see her most definitely being upset with that loss. But at the same time, like that was when Baylor was playing their best ball,
Oh yeah,
and
they were doing
and
spectacular.
and I could see I could see Patty Gasso just kind of really being nonchalant about it. Like, I mean, she's lost games before, and that's part of the game. So I would imagine that she's reached a point in her career where she's not going to let a loss dictate everything else. She's not
Especially
going to
that
let it
early
affect,
on.
right. She's not going to let it affect her mood and affect her attitude towards her team. So I could see her just kind of being like, you know, guys with, or girls in this case, girls, we,
Thank you.
we've done, we did this where, we could have done this. I need to get better at this. I need to get better at this, and just kind of taking more of a level-headed, um, I don't know, more almost a level-headed kind of mental approach towards our towards the team mistakes. Um, but then the girls running with that and being like, "That ain't happening again," because
Yeah,
that
that's not
sucked.
good enough for us. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Either way, they freaking win everything. So they win the conference tournament, go on to win everything else, and win the national title. Texas finishes second in the conference tournament. They finished 45-15-1 on the year with an 11-7 conference record. Honestly, 11-7 as the second best team in the conference. Not very impressive.
I'm thinking like 15-3, somewhere in that area. Not asking
Yeah,
you to
like
just, go undefeated like Oklahoma did, but I mean, 11-7, and then
right.
where's the person that's supposed to be in between Texas and Oklahoma? There's another team that's supposed to be there.
Right. Yeah. But at the same time, you look at the Big 12 and you look at the next two teams on the list, you start
Solid
to
teams.
understand why. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next two teams on the list, one of the teams makes it to the World Series. So, and the next two teams both 40 plus win teams. Like you're not,
That conference is stacked. You can't even
yeah, like you're going through the gauntlet with that one.
right. Yeah, you get Texas going 45
Much,
15 again with the one. Again
yeah.
with the one. That's just
Maybe they tied Notre Dame.
maybe that's who it was.
I highly doubt it
I don't
though.
think it was, but
Nah.
sure. But that'll just make me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. So Texas finishes runner up in the conference. OK State finishes third, 47-16 on the year with a 10-8 conference. Again, not an impressive conference performance, but you're going through a gauntlet, much like two other conferences we're going to get to.
Right.
Um,
Super
but
tough
yeah,
conference.
yeah. Oddly enough, Oklahoma State, even though they end up making it to the World Series, they get upset in the conference tournament by Kansas. What do you think about that?
That one throws you for a loop.
Yeah, the old Jayhawks swooping down in there.
I mean, I got nothing against Kansas. No reason to have any kind of shade towards them. But you don't hear Kansas softball, you know? You just
Yeah, the old
not against
the old
not against the Cowgirls.
Yeah, not the old Jayhawks, not a household mascot.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, Kansas comes in there, says, "I ain't afraid of you," and they knocked the old Cowgirls off their high horses.
I'm all for an upset though. I like upsets.
I do like a good underdog. Unfortunately, Kansas not that underdog. Um, Baylor finishes fourth in the conference. There you go, 40-18 on the year, and 8-10 in conference. Again, Baylor the only team to beat Oklahoma, so a really good team, a really really good team. But they run through a gauntlet every year in conference play,
8-10.
yeah, they get upset by Iowa State, the old Cyclones, in conference tournament. Uh, I can't even talk. Did you hear that?
No, I thought you said conference tournament. Did you say
It
tournament?
kind
What'd you
of
say?
it kind of came out. Remember?
Well, tournament.
Yeah, a little South Park coming out of me, I guess.
Okay.
um, but yeah, so Baylor, a really good team. They disappoint in the conference tournament and lose, get put out by Iowa State, um, who, much like Kansas, not that underdog that you can root for because they don't
Make
make
it.
a regional. Right. They don't make a regional. So as far as the postseason goes, Oklahoma hosts a regional. They advance to supers, host supers. They beat
Do it all.
Clemson. Yeah, and they win the World Series. We've already covered it. Been there, done that. Going to Texas. Texas hosts a regional. They advance. They drop supers to Tennessee. You're just loving this.
Hey,
Loving
the
it.
Texas when Tennessee was playing Texas, and when I saw that they were playing like going to play Texas, panicked because I knew what Texas brought to the table, and I also knew what Tennessee brought to the table. Obviously, paid good attention to Tennessee, but
Yes. Texas drops 2 games to Tennessee. Um, like I said, Tennessee is a super good program. Really tough to go to Knoxville and beat them in their own house. If anybody was going to do it, Texas was going to do it.
and that is why I was shaking in my boots.
Right. Yeah. As you and every other member of Vol Nation,
That's right.
every other freaking Rocky freaking
Pop.
boo boo top.
No, no, Boo Boo's not part of it. Just just Rocky freaking Top.
Rocky
Mm.
Pop. Uh, yeah. So then Oklahoma State hosts a regional. They advance, going to host supers, and they eliminate Oregon. Oregon was a pretty solid team. Oregon, they actually went to the Fayetteville regional and put Arkansas out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Arkansas was a solid team. Was that the second year in a row that Oregon did that? That they put
The
Arkansas
Arkansas
out?
out?
Yeah.
Maybe. Might have to check that one.
Oh, for some reason, I feel like that happened 2 years in a row. Maybe it was that it was just so shocking to me that it just kind of stuck and it felt like a back to
Maybe, but
back thing.
it looks like in 2022, roles reversed
Arkansas went to Oregon
and
and
beat
Oregon
Oregon.
put them out.
No,
Arkansas beat Oregon.
I think Arkansas beat Oregon. I think, if I'm reading this right. Yeah. Oregon Ducks softball ends after losing to number 4 Arkansas.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
Oh,
how
how
the
the tables have
turntables.
oh.
Oh man, what a great
Oh
Office
no.
reference right there. If you don't watch The Office, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, Oklahoma State hosts Oregon in supers, and they beat them in Stillwater, going 2-0 against them. They advance to the Women's College World Series and go 1-2. Not a bad performance considering they were the third place finisher in their conference. But again,
Not the
Oklahoma
best
State,
performance.
yeah, not the best. You expect a little bit more out of Oklahoma State, seeing as how that was their fourth year that they had been there in a row. Um, yeah, you just expect a little bit more out of them. But again, just winning one in the World Series is a really hard task to accomplish. So
Right.
kudos to them. Baylor goes 1-2 in the Salt Lake Regional. And they
I
go
like
play
this one.
old Utah, and they end up getting eliminated by Ole Miss. The Rebs, baby. Don't let the Rebs get hot. That's
That's
what old
just
Tim.
I'm rooting for Baylor on that one. 10 out of 10 times. Got
Yeah,
to.
because you're a loser.
No. I'm just not
Yeah.
I'm not rooting for the Ole Miss
Outside,
Sharks, Rebels, Hotties
out.
Hotties.
Come on, dog. You forgot the Black Bears.
Sorry, my bad. My bad. Too many to
Yeah.
keep up with.
Yeah. It's okay. It's fine. We had Joey Freshwater leading the charge on the gridiron. So if you don't know who Joey Freshwater is, that's Lane Kiffin's alter ego. That was the alias he went by when he was at Alabama. Um,
You probably had to go. Never mind. Let me just stop myself. You know what I do like about Ole Miss? I like their mascot for their football team by the old name of Juice. I like the little puppy dog.
you like Lane Kiffin's dog.
Yes, it's
Well,
a cute
that's
dog.
that's great. That's great. I'm glad you like him.
It's something about Ole Miss that I like. You should be just smiling ear to ear right now.
I mean, I'm not an Ole Miss alum or anything. I'm not like a huge Ole Miss fan. I live in Mississippi. I'm not going to root for State. What are you talking about?
Don't look at me. I don't root for State.
That's asking to be disappointed every year.
Oh man. Anyways, back to
Win a
our.
baseball national championship and then turn around and finish last in the conference.
Hey, Ole Miss about to do the same thing.
They came close. They came close.
Let's not forget that part.
Yeah.
Whew.
It's a curse.
It is.
It's a curse.
Unless you're
All right.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, I didn't say it's just a Mississippi curse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the specifics would have
Yeah,
been made it much more clear.
yeah. I've clarified now. So it's a Mississippi curse that only applies to Division I teams. Because it doesn't apply to Delta State,
And
specifically their baseball team.
we got really distracted just then.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Pac-12. So Pac-12's regular season rounded out with UCLA
Oh,
winning the regular season conference championship. They finished first in the regular season. They go 52-7. Mind you, that is a phenomenal record.
that's one heck of a
Phenomenal.
record.
Like 61-1 is just that's unreal. I don't even understand how Oklahoma did that. However, 52-7 is also unreal.
Agreed.
Like that's crazy. 21-3 in the conference, and then you just lay an egg in the conference tournament. You lay an egg and you get upset by Utah, who, as we have already discussed, did we've already said Utah was a really good team. They made it all the way to the World Series. They impressed a lot of people, including themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, UCLA just dropping the ball, dude. Dropping the ball. When it came crunch time, they were like, no, maybe they all just wanted to go home. Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe they were just tired. Just I'm ready to take a
Catching a
break.
little,
Well,
yeah, catching a little burnout, ready for summer vacay. They've been working all year long on that beach pod,
right.
you know?
Why not go
So
spend
they're
June
like,
at the beach instead of
yeah,
in
I ain't
Oklahoma
trying to
City?
go to Oklahoma City where I'm not close to any water. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? No. So let's just go out here and let's just lose the conference championship. Uh, yeah, so they lose the conference championship to Utah. So Utah takes that crown after finishing third in the regular season conference. Washington finished second. They were 44-15 on the year with a 16-8 conference record. Again, this is kind of like the Big 12, not a super impressive conference record,
Right.
but definitely better than Texas's 11-7.
Oh, absolutely. But still, I mean, 16-8 still obviously still
They
pretty
played
good,
more
but
conference games.
yeah.
Washington, like the Pac-12 played more conference games than the Big 12 did.
Well, Pac-12's bigger than the, ignore that. Never mind.
Well, bigger or not, like they're still playing a significant amount
Yeah.
more conference. What is that? I don't know. We don't math over here. We don't do math.
24. Yeah, 24.
That's 24 games. Yeah, yeah. I'm talking about how many more.
24 minus
So
18.
minus 18.
6.
I mean, six more games is a
Makes a big
significant
difference.
number. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. Um, but yeah, Pac-12 is playing more games in conference, which
More
uh,
chances to win, more chances to lose.
yeah. So at 16-8, like not terrible, not great. Um, obviously good enough to finish second in the conference. They get upset by Utah in the semis, who if we're just stacking the numbers, the records against each other, like you could have flipped a coin between Utah and Washington and just
Yeah.
it wouldn't have mattered. Um,
One's going
Utah finished
15-9.
Yeah, Utah finished 42-16 on the year. Remember, we said Washington was 44-15. And then in conference, Washington 16-8, Utah's 15-9. So literally, you could have just flipped a coin as to who was going to finish second, who was going to finish third.
Yeah.
But Utah just hits a hot streak come conference tournament, and they win their first conference tournament in program history.
That's crazy. What
Like
what
just,
a freaking time. They were living it up.
oh
Just
yeah, great time
don't
to be a
quit.
Ute, baby. Ute.
Yeah, I don't get the Ute. I'm not sure what a Ute is, but what's a Ute? Am I even saying it right? Ute? What is he?
It's
I don't
not
know what
Ute. It's a Ute. It's a Ute. Um, that would be the. I'm don't quote me on this, but I'm about 99% positive that this is the Native American tribe that occupied or inhabited Utah.
that would be actually a pretty cool mascot then.
I mean, did none of their logo give that away?
You know, sometimes you can't
Do
trust logos. Let's go back to Ole Miss. Let's think about it. Let's go back to Alabama. We have an elephant. And we
in the
have Roll
room?
Tide. All right.
All
All right.
right. So Utah wins their first conference tournament in program history. Stanford finishes fourth in the conference, going 47-15. Again, remember, Stanford made it all the way to the World Series, just like Utah did. They go 14-10 in conference and lose to UCLA in the semis. So, I mean, Stanford, to say it's expected to lose to UCLA, I feel like is a little bit of a stretch. just because Stanford is really good too. But
I wouldn't
I
say
mean,
expected. It's
it wouldn't have shocked anybody.
yeah,
Like,
maybe
to,
predictable. No, I don't know. I don't know what the word
I mean,
is.
either way, like Stanford loses to UCLA. It's not like it's. I don't feel like it's a dagger to the heart. Like you go into
You
it
just as competitive.
right. You go into it knowing it's going to be a dogfight, and again, you could flip a coin, and but they lost to UCLA in the conference semis. You talk about the postseason for the Pac-12. UCLA hosts regionals, and they freaking go 0-2. Like you crap the bed in the conference tournament,
That's
then you turn right around and you can't get over the hump. Like you as a team,
can't flip a
right?
switch.
You got to be able to flush that. You have to be able to flush it and just all right. We lost the conference tournament, but we're here. We're in the NCAA tournament. We're on the road to the World Series. The World Series starts here, and you're just like, no, no, this we're gonna
Liberty.
lose Liberty, mind you. Liberty, a good team. They had a phenomenal record. They were just as far as record goes, they were just as good as UCLA was
Yeah,
during the season. And so to lose to Liberty, not necessarily when you're talking about number for number, like pound for pound kind of deal. Losing to Liberty, not a huge
that's a
disappointment, but
stinger.
when it is when you look at it from where they're from.
Yeah,
Like you're a Pac-12 Southern California freaking softball nation team, and you lose to Lynchburg, Virginia, Sun Belt Conference, Liberty. Like, right? Liberty's the Sun Belt.
I think so.
I'm
Let's
pretty sure.
a
I'm
sun.
pretty sure. A Sun, that's what it is. Okay. I mean, you just can't do that, especially not in your own regional.
I was about to say not where you're hosting and it's your comfortable place. You know the field like the back of your hand. You know
Yeah,
how it plays.
your fan base is there.
Yeah,
Your fan base didn't have to go anywhere. They just
in your
woke
element.
up and yeah, they just woke up and spent 5 hours in the car to drive 3 miles down the road. That was an LA joke, by the way.
I got it
Um,
because there's traffic. It takes a long time to get from place to place. I picked it up.
yeah, because LA is super crowded and it's it's one of my least favorite places. But anyway, um, yeah, you and not even it's not even just losing to Liberty. Like you didn't even win a game. You went 0-2, and then you just had to sit there and
And
watch the
watch
rest
everything
of your
else.
regional. Like what?
And that's why I'm saying I know it stung.
Oh
Because
yeah,
you know that they were better than what they put on in postseason. 52-7. You got more in you. Liberty, I think, was what 40-20 or 40 and
no, 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 no,
something.
no, no, no. Liberty was really, really good last year.
Really?
Um, yeah,
Well, again, 40-22.
man, get out of here. They're 40-22.
19-5 in conference, 40-22 on the year. That's still a
I
solid
see it.
team, though. 40 wins, come on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But 52 wins,
yeah. I mean, UCLA had no business losing to Liberty. It just is what it is. Even if Liberty had won the amount of games that I thought they won. UCLA just can't lose to Liberty. Like you can't. Who else did they lose to?
Utah. What do you mean? Oh, you mean because they went 0-2?
Yeah,
Oh,
because they didn't lose to Utah. They didn't play Utah. Did
yeah,
they
no,
lose
I
to San
thought you
Diego
meant,
State? No,
yes,
they
yes.
freaking lost to.
No?
No, they didn't. They didn't even play San Diego State. They lost to freaking GCU, bro. They
That's
lost to
what it was.
Grand
Grand
Canyon.
Canyon. I remember that because I told you that I thought they were just an online school.
Oh, no offense to anybody who goes to Grand Canyon. I know they're not just an online school. They're actually a Christian-based school in Colorado, I believe.
Why wouldn't it be in? Never mind. Grand Canyon's in Arizona.
No. Yeah,
Wouldn't
Arizona.
they be in Arizona where the Grand Canyon is?
Oh, shut up, dude.
Anyways, let me just back myself up here. The reason I thought it was an online school is because there's commercials about their online program, not their actual program. There's commercials everywhere. Just join Grand Canyon University for a degree online. So clearly there
Li
was a
Li
connection for me.
Liberty does the same thing.
I ain't never seen a Liberty commercial.
Come, come on. Yes, you have. Anyway, I'm just gonna say this. Um, win one for Jesus here. Uh, UCLA lost to two Christian schools in their regional.
Wait,
Go Jesus. Go Jesus.
I don't know. I just want to know what letters you were saying a second ago. UDLA. What is that? Ugh.
It's 10:56. That's what that is.
Well, they drink Red Bull.
So,
I don't know what to tell you.
no. All right. So Washington goes on to host their regional. They advance to supers, host the supers, and eliminate Louisiana Lafayette, the old Raging Cajuns. Uh,
Raging Cajun.
beat them 2-0. Go 1-2 in the World Series. Again, not a super impressive bout in the World Series, but World Series is tough. So just winning that one.
Hard feat there too, so just to get there in general, but still. Nobody ever wants to go to the World Series and go over, I guess. 1-2. I kind of expected them to do a little better. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Yeah. But, I mean, they did better than the next one.
That they did.
Yeah.
That
So
they did.
Washington does better than Utah, who hosts their regional and advances to host supers, eliminating San Diego State 2-0, and makes their first trip to the World Series since '94. Goes 0-2 again. Really hard to win a game at the World Series. Really hard just to get there. But first trip since '94, super impressive.
Almost
Really,
20 years.
really, yeah, really great feat for that program. You gotta love it if you're an alum. Stanford hosts their regional and they advance. They eliminate Duke in the supers after winning 2-0. They make their third World Series appearance in program history. That's a pretty huge feat,
That is.
considering how long Stanford's been around. I'm not quite sure how long their softball program's been around. I know it's been around for a while because
Yeah.
Southern California is like kind of the birthplace of college softball. But 3 trips in program history.
Well, super not on Pac-12 topic here, but speaking of how long a program's been around, Clemson's program's only been there since 2020, right?
Yep. Yep.
That's what's
Same thing with
impressive to
Duke.
me. Yeah,
Same thing with Duke. Yeah. Wild stuff going on in the old ACC in the Carolinas, baby. Um,
that is the Carolinas. I forgot where Duke was at for a second.
yeah, it's in
North Carolina, right?
Durham. It's in Durham, North Carolina.
Yeah, yeah.
And UNC Chapel Hill is in Chapel Hill, North Carolina,
That's why
obviously.
they're
And
rivals.
it's like 15 minutes down the road. And 15 minutes down the road from Durham and Chapel Hill is Raleigh, North Carolina, where NC State is.
Oh wow. Now see, I didn't know they were all three that close.
And then USA Baseball is in Cary, North Carolina, which is right smack dab in the middle of all three of them.
Big sports area.
Big baseball area. And apparently softball.
Yeah. Strong softball programs coming out of North Carolina.
Yeah,
I'm
so
impressed.
Stanford goes 2-2 in the World Series. Pretty. I mean, that's a pretty solid outing.
Yeah.
Come home with 2 wins in the World Series. In a World Series where you have Oklahoma and Florida State, like, good luck.
Yeah.
To walk
Yeah.
away with 2 wins is that's a pretty that's a pretty
Especially
solid
for
outing.
not having a team experience with the Women's College World Series.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty pleased. If I'm Stanford, I'm obviously a little disappointed because you always want to win it all, but I'm still pretty
Yeah,
pleased too. 2 wins, pretty pleased.
gives you something to shoot for this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Then you got Oregon. Oregon, um, as we mentioned earlier, uh, we were talking about them in Arkansas. Why were we talking about them?
Because Oregon put Arkansas out this year, but the year before, 2022, Arkansas flipped the switch, put Oregon out.
Yeah, but how did we get on Arkansas and Oregon?
Because we were talking about Oregon earlier, and their uh whoever eliminated. Oh, they because Oklahoma State
What?
eliminated Oregon. When we were talking about Oklahoma State, we are talking about who they eliminated in the postseason. They eliminated Oregon, and then you said something about
Oh,
Arkansas, and then we rabbit
got you.
holed into that issue.
I got you. Because I was like, we haven't even talked about the SEC yet.
Right. So now let's talk
All
about the
right.
SEC. Oregon upsets Arkansas.
Well, yeah. So Oregon goes 38-17, 14-10 in conference. They get an at-large bid. They upset Arkansas in the Fayetteville regional to advance the Supers, and they drop 2-0 to Oklahoma State, which again, Oklahoma State, super solid program. Um, I mean, by the time you make it to Supers, like everybody's really good. It's hard to get through to the next round. So can't really fault Oregon for that, especially being an at-large bid for the tournament.
Right.
Um, pretty, pretty solid ending to their season. All right, so oh no, we got one more, and Cal. So
At large bid in old California.
there's your tie again.
Yeah, I
So
saw
you,
that. I was trying to ignore it, but thank you for pointing that little irk out.
so UC Berkeley, the old California Golden Bears, they go 35-21-1. That's kind of a gross
Overall.
record. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm. Well, and
not
then you look at the
super
conference
impressive.
record.
Yeah, their conference record is 9-14-1. That is so disgusting.
Yet they got the at-large bid, so obviously they did something right. Maybe other teams just
I
did something so wrong.
I personally. So let's just talk about their regional first. So they go to regionals. They go to Norman play Oklahoma, and they get knocked out by Oklahoma in the finals. So they go 2-2, get knocked out by Oklahoma in the finals. So, I mean, as an at-large bid, like you you do a pretty good job for yourself. You make some noise in that regional. Um, but I mean, come on, bro. Like
Hmm.
Baylor did did Baylor
Baylor's got
get an
40
at-large?
plus wins. Baylor's got 40 plus wins.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Baylor did go, and they got eliminated by Ole Miss. That's right.
By the
Um,
Reds.
but like, I just don't understand. I just feel like there are better teams.
Then 9-14-1. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Like,
Nothing against them here. I mean, still,
no, I
again,
mean,
competition's tough, but
yeah, like, and I mean, they did decently well in the Norman regional. Like they 2-2 and getting put out by Oklahoma. Like you kind of expect them to get put out by Oklahoma, but man, that talk about icks, just giving teams that don't deserve it. Like
yeah, like just
I
leave
just
it. Just leave it with the
I
other
feel like
4 or 5 Pac-12 that had made it for the postseason.
yeah, I feel like they got a bid simply because they're a Pac-12 team. Now, mind you, when we get into the SEC, it's going to be crazy
Right.
how many schools get at-large bids. But there were some solid group of five schools that just got left out just because they're a group of five school.
Because they're smaller. Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand like it's a money thing and like we're trying to increase viewership and increase ticket sales. Like I get it, but like come on, bro. Just come on.
9-14-1.
Give the little guy a chance. All right, moving on to the freaking SEC. So the regular season, Tennessee wins the conference tournament. They win the regular season. They went 51-10, 19-5 in conference. Again, SEC is a gauntlet. So we're going to see some not so dominant conference records here. 19-5 is a pretty solid start. Um, but it's no 20-3 or 21-2
Yeah.
or whatever, like some of the other conferences. Um, but yeah, Tennessee 19-5 conference, they win the tournament. Georgia finishes second in the conference in regular season. They go 42-15 overall with a 16-7 conference record. They get upset by South Carolina early. Like, not Georgia didn't even make it to the freaking semis.
No. That was it. It was one and done, wasn't it? Or maybe two and done. It might be double
It's
elimination.
I know
I don't know why I kind of feel like it's one and done, but
it might be. I know some of the conference tournaments are one and done. Some of them are double elimination.
yeah.
I kind of feel like you're right though. I kind of feel like SEC tournament is a one and done. But like,
Until the finals, I think is 2 out of 3.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, come on, dude. Like you're the second team in the conference. You're nationally ranked. You host a regional, and you get upset by South Carolina
They're not the only
before
ones.
yeah, not the only ones. But like you didn't even make it to semis. Yeah. So the next school that gets upset by the old Gamecocks, Auburn, sitting at 43-19, finished 15-9 on the year. South Carolina just, squeezing on by. Excuse me.
Just on to the next thing, Spy.
Yeah. Um, Upsets Auburn in the conference semis. And then we have Arkansas, who finished the year 40-19, 14-10 in conference. And they get upset by Alabama in the conference tournament. That sounds like a typo.
The upset part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
by Alabama.
I just feel like it's just lost to Alabama. Not necessarily upset, but I still also feel like it's supposed to be Alabama and then like beat Arkansas. You know what I'm saying? Like Alabama should be fourth ranked. I feel like they're supposed to be because they've always been so dominant. It just doesn't seem right to me.
I feel like if anything, Alabama should be first or second on this list.
Well, unfortunately,
Just based on what we're used to.
right.
But I mean, they're not on the list at all until we get to they upset Arkansas. And that specifically, like, that sounds like a typo. Like, I messed up. Alabama didn't upset
Upset.
Arkansas. Alabama beat Arkansas like they're supposed to beat Arkansas. But if we're talking about the way the conference lined up and the seeding, it was an upset.
It's
It was number 4 versus number 5.
I was about to say it's not
So
like it was 8-2 or
yeah,
however the numbers line up, but
so technically an upset, but one of those coin tosses that we were talking about earlier.
right.
But I technicality, Arkansas was upset by Alabama in the conference tournament.
Barely.
As far as the postseason goes, Tennessee hosts their regional. They advance, host supers, eliminate Texas, go 2-2 in the Women's College World Series. Expect more out of them, just because, like, when you watch them play, like, they were just so dominant.
Electric.
They were, yeah. I watched them play Notre Dame last year, and they just like beat the brakes off of Notre Dame in
They
like
just
the
have
first
fun.
inning.
It's just fun
Yeah,
for them.
they had a lot of fun, a lot like Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you would have liked to have seen them, get to the finals, but understandably, that's really tough. So to go 2-2, having not what did we say? They hadn't made a World Series since 2015, 8 years.
Correct. 8,
Yeah,
yeah,
so I
8.
mean, you got to be proud of your efforts there. Something to definitely build upon this year.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia hosts their regional, like we talked about earlier. Freaking after getting upset by South Carolina, like you. All right, I'm just going to get off my soapbox about that. They host their regional. They advance. They drop their supers to a super good Florida State team. And not a whole lot else you could say about it. Georgia was
No,
really
I mean,
good, but
Florida
they didn't
State's
have
just
they didn't have Catherine Sandercock.
correct.
That's
And
that's
I mean,
essentially that's essentially what it came down to. Um, but I honestly kind of think Florida State beat them with Mac Leonard, though.
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think they did. But Mac Leonard was really good in her own right. So
Oh, I mean, the whole pitching staff for Florida State's packed solid, but I mean,
yeah,
Catherine Sandercock, it's just unreal.
their Florida State's lineup top to bottom was just really good, and I mean they just proved that they were better than Georgia. Even though Georgia was really solid, Florida State they were just better. Auburn goes 3-2 in the Clemson regional. Got eliminated by Clemson in the finals. Again, like Valerie Cagle's throwing 75 miles an hour.
Saucing it up. Throwing
75 miles an hour
gassers. Just,
from 43 feet away.
oh,
That's like 100. That's for people who don't understand how fast that is. It's like 100 miles an hour in baseball. Yeah, so Valley Cable just throwing absolute gas. Um, but Auburn puts on a good show at Clemson. They go 3-2, so they um they face Clemson in the finals. Do you know what the final score for that was? I can look it up real quick. I think.
Okay. While you look that up, I'm gonna go back to our question earlier about who was pitching for Florida State when they were playing
Uh-huh.
Georgia. It was Catherine Sandercock. She pitched
Was it? Okay.
5.2 innings for them. So
Okay. So in the Clemson regional, Auburn actually beat Clemson one game in the finals, forced the game two. They beat Clemson 5-2, and then Clemson turned around and beat them 5-1. So again, I kind of feel like if Auburn, man, I don't know. I don't know. If Auburn somehow scrapes through that Clemson regional to face Oklahoma, I think they get stomped in the ground.
I'm not gonna disagree with you on that one. I think between Auburn and Clemson, I think Clemson's the better opponent to go up against Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, you, it's hard to not acknowledge the fact that one team has a Valerie Cagle and one team doesn't.
Right.
Like, and I understand there are more players on Clemson's team than just Valerie Cagle. Like, is it Millie or Miley Thompson?
Ah. Hmm.
It's Millie. I think
I
it's
would go
Millie.
with Millie.
Yeah, I think it's Millie. Millie Thompson in she was Clemson's number two last year,
Mm-hmm.
and the lefty, she was really good. She didn't throw near as hard as Valley Cagle. She went throwing 75, but I mean, she's still slinging it, and she's not giving up very many runs. Like I think her opponent batting average was like 160 on the year or something like that. Like she was throwing really well for them last year too. So again, that's not to say that I say all that to say that, Valerie Cagle does not make that whole team, but to have Valerie Cagle,
To have somebody who's not a PO and is producing from both sides of the ball
yeah, just like
is
throwing the
special.
majority of your innings, gassing people up, striking people out left and right, but also dropping bombs at the plate every day.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like Valerie Cagle hit when she didn't pitch. Like if she was pitching, she was hitting. If she wasn't pitching, she was hitting.
You know who I'm
So
comparing her to? Different skill here, obviously. But if you go to the MLB, you take Valerie Cagle, who you putting
are
her
you
up
gonna put her
against?
on Shohei
Oh, I
Otani?
am. I am. I'm putting them side by side, equivalent in my eyes.
I
That
mean,
rhymed. That was a good. That rhymed. That was good.
you could pat yourself on the back for that one.
Yeah, if my shoulder would let me, I would. But it's a little.
Um, yeah, I mean, I see the comparison. I do. I it's going to get into a whole different conversation for an entirely different podcast.
Exactly.
But yes, she is the two-way phenom, much like Shohei Otani. Um, yeah, so Auburn has a pretty good outing against Clemson. They steal a game from Clemson in the finals. Ultimately, Clemson ends up putting them out. Arkansas hosts a regional and they get upset by Oregon. You
Let's
know
discuss
that
this
that
again. 2 years
yeah
ago.
that yeah that whole feud, right? Oregon gets their revenge and knocks Arkansas out. Alabama goes 45-22 on the year. A pretty stout record. They're 14-10 in in conference play. The exact same conference record that Arkansas had, which is why it doesn't make any
Coin
sense to
toss.
really say that Alabama upset Arkansas, but just based on the seeding and technicality, they did upset Arkansas. Um, but Alabama receives an at-large bid, which again, that seems like a typo. Arkansas or Alabama getting an at-large bid
Not
instead of
common
just
for them.
instead of just Alabama, just they win everything and they get into the tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got an at-large bid because they didn't win their tournament. They didn't win regular season either. Um, but they got an at-large bid to host, which is not surprising because it's Alabama and they're in the SEC. So, and in the SEC, it just means more. So,
It just means more. That's right.
so Alabama hosts their regionals. They advance barely by the skin of their freaking teeth against a pretty stout MTSU team.
Blue
Um,
Raiders,
kudos,
baby.
kudos to the Raiders. Then they go on to host Supers and eliminate Northwestern. And again, skin of their teeth. Northwestern could have stole that Super from them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go 0-2 in the World Series. It's kind of indicative of their entire season, honestly. Like they struggled early in the year, then they got right. They never really produced offensively, not to the degree that we're used to. Um, and they get to the World Series and they get exposed a little bit. Like at this point, Montana Fouts is not 100%.
No, she
So
hadn't been
you,
100% since halfway through the season, but she's a freaking dog.
yeah,
And she's going to keep pushing.
yeah, and but I mean, she's not 100%, so you can't solely rely on her to just shut people down. So you got to score, and you can't do it.
And they didn't. That
Yeah,
which is it's not the Alabama, like we already said, it's not the Alabama that you're used to.
yeah. I mean, that's not to say Alabama didn't score a lot all year, but like they were just not as offensively productive as they have been in years past.
Mm-hmm.
And to lose that offensive production by the time you get to the World Series, you're in for a world of hurt.
For sure. Are you all right over there? Did you turn your mic off?
It unplugged itself. I think it
Oh,
just reached back
it
there and
just it
just
just grew some hands and was like, yeah, I don't. I'm done.
yeah. But did you hear what I said about losing that offensive
Yeah,
production?
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So we'll move on. LSU goes 42-17 on the year with a 13-11 conference record. Much like the Big 12, the Pac-12 are going through a gauntlet here. So LSU's 13-11, not
That's a
super impressive.
hard fought
Yeah,
13-11.
yeah, not a super impressive conference record, but you're going up some of the best players in the country every single weekend.
Yeah,
And so 13-11, while it's not impressive, it like you said, it's a hard fought conference record. They get an at-large bid to host because they're in the SEC,
right.
where it just means more. Um, they host their regionals and they get upset by Louisiana. The old Raging Cajuns come in,
In-state
rivals,
rival. I was gonna say the word with the RY on the end, then I remembered I can't pronounce that one. It's not gonna happen.
rivalry.
Weak.
Say that 5 times fast. Rivalry week.
I can't
That's a
even
hard
say
one.
the first word.
Did you see?
Rivalry.
Did you hear all the analysts this past weekend talking about the Red River rivalry?
Talk
The
about
old show,
alliteration.
yeah, the old showdown between Oklahoma and Texas on the old gridiron this past weekend. Um, but yeah, LSU gets upset by Louisiana, the old Raging Cajuns from down in the bayou. Uh, honestly, like Raging Cajuns, Group of Five team that's super solid every year, every single year, just solid.
Give a lot of teams their run for their money.
Oh yeah,
A run for the
I
money.
mean they play in I don't know the name of the tournament, but that kickoff tournament, that like classic, that's down in like
And
Panama City or
I was about to say in
Pensacola or
Florida.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
they
don't know what
play
it's
in
called. I
that.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they play in that every year, and I mean, they're playing Alabama, they're playing Florida, they're playing Central Florida, they're playing Tennessee, like, and they're taking games. They're not
I was
just
about to
going
say they're
down there
not
and
getting
getting.
smacked around.
Yeah, they're not going to that tournament just getting smacked. They're taking games from people. They're a really good ball club. So to see them upset Louisiana State, oh, that sounds terrible. To see him upset LSU in a regional is not surprising, but also very exciting.
Yeah, I agree. And that
Very,
game,
very exciting.
you can go
It
back
was
and
a
watch some
close game
highlights in
too.
that game. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah. That
yeah.
was a good it was a good game. Um so moving on to Texas A&M, they're 35-21 on the year, 12-12 in conference. This is that UC Berkeley, that Cal Golden Bears
Doesn't
record.
sit
That's
right.
just kind of, yeah, it's like, what are we doing? 35 and
It's
21.
because it
Now,
just means
Grant,
more.
yeah. Now, like I said, I will say that Texas A&M is a pretty solid ball club.
Mm-hmm.
They are a pretty solid ball club. Um, but 35-21, it just doesn't sit right. It doesn't sit right.
Come on, before
Anyway,
we before we keep going though, you got 35-21. Again, Louisiana 42-17, Alabama 45-22. At large bid, at large bid. The rest of the teams in the SEC without the first four all got at large bids. Minus one. One team in the SEC.
yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll
12 and
get there
12.
because
12 and
because we
12 gets you an
got
at large bid.
we got to rub it in their face at the end. We'll get there. We'll get there. So Texas A&M gets at large bid. They go to Austin, where the Longhorns are. All right, they go to Austin and go 2-2. They get put out by Texas in the finals. Not surprising.
I
You
would
you
expect
go
that.
in, yeah, you go into a host regional with a 35-21 record up against how many wins did Texas have? I know they had over
45.
40.
45.
Yeah, you're third. They won 10 more games than you did. Like, anyway, in-state rivalry, they get put out by Texas. Texas just better. Um, can't expect much more out of Texas A&M than what they did in that regional. You, I don't know. You just like to see them be a better ball club to get the opportunity to go,
Right. I
rather
just
than
I don't feel 12 and 12, 35-21 really overall. I just don't feel
yeah. I
like
mean,
that's what
I
gets you
can
there.
yeah I can get over the conference record because the SEC is
Right.
is just it's just
Tough.
a bloodbath. Like, and with as many teams as there are in the SEC, and this year you're adding Texas and Oklahoma,
Right.
like that the conference record is just like not really indicative of how good a ball club is, specifically for the SEC. But when you talk about that overall record, you're sitting at 35-21. Granted, that's above 500, but it's just not impressive.
No, and I
It's, I mean, it's over 10 games above 500. Maybe we're just being a little too harsh. I don't know. Then because two teams down, that one is GROSS. But we'll get there. So Florida, 38-22 on the year, 11-13 in conference. They receive an at-large bid. The old Gators, Skylar Wallace, they go into the Stanford Regional and they go 2-2 and lose to Stanford in the finals. Kind of expect Florida to do better than that.
would agree
Like
with that. I
you expect them to do better than that overall throughout the year, but you also expect them to do better against Stanford, a program that is really good, but a program that's not proven themselves to be a year in, year out contender for the World Series.
No, and Florida was that. Florida was a year in, year out contender for a long time. And then they just, I don't know, something about, I get it, Stanford again, stellar year, great program. But you expect Florida, especially kind of not a Valerie Cagle deal, not quite pitching, hitting, bombs, strikeouts. But you got Skylar Wallace. Skylar Wallace is a solid softball player. And you
Yeah,
got
you had
also, yep. Is that who you're
Charlotte
about to say?
Eccles.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
you
what I
got
was about to
Charlotte
say.
Eccles who's just dropping the head on stuff and just
Yeah.
beating balls all over the yard. I mean, and those two are not the only just phenoms on their team. Like they're just like Florida State, just like Texas, just like Oklahoma, just like maybe not just like Oklahoma, but just like every other team who made it to supers. Florida's got all of the talent in the world.
They have one of the
I,
top, for the past couple of years, they've had one of the top recruiting classes coming in. They've got girls obviously some still being able to use COVID years. They got experience, they got talent. I
they got
expect Florida
they
to
get the
do,
yeah, they get the top transfers too
yeah. Look at Skylar Wallace. Skylar Wallace was transferred.
from Alabama.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so I don't know what it is specifically about Florida and why they have the top recruiting classes and how they get the best of the best transfers in the portal. I'd imagine it has a little bit to do with some NIL money. I don't know how big NIL has impacted the softball community. Um, I know it has a little bit because I've seen where some softball players have their own like merchandise links on their Instagrams or their Twitters
Yeah.
or whatever. Um, but I mean, you have to imagine that Florida has more accessibility to NIL money than what a lot of these other schools do. And for them to not be putting up a 40-win season every single year is, I mean, it's just kind of
What are we
disappointing.
doing? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's just a little bit disappointing. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they chill out, chill out.
That one seemed like a little bit was.
It just kind of came out of nowhere. Um, but yeah, maybe they're, man, hopefully they do better this year. Hopefully they have a better outing this year. I would like to see Florida in the
I
top,
want Florida to go.
you know,
I
Yeah,
want them
I'd
to
like
go to
to.
the World Series.
Yeah, I do too. They're an exciting team. They're super fast. They have tons of pop. Like maybe pitching is what hurt them last year.
If we're going to be honest, the pitching after Hannah Rogers left, whatever year that was, because I used to be a Florida fan too, because I just pick and choose which ones I want. But
Yeah,
I,
because you're a
I
bandwagon
seriously,
fan.
no, no, no.
Yeah, yeah,
Stuck with
yeah.
my Vols all my life, so.
Right. Tennessee beats Alabama one time, and you're like, oh, Tennessee.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure,
Oh, Tennessee.
sure, yeah. No, I like Florida. I like Tim Walton. I've I watched them growing up. The little sunflowers in their hair. I used to want one, and then I realized it wasn't for me. Whatever. But they've always had. They had Lauren Hagar. They had Hannah Rogers. They had strong pitching, but it seems like that's what might be lacking now.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Hopefully they get it turned around this year. I know they got some incoming freshmen that are
Pretty
pretty
solid.
stellar standouts. Yeah, they're. I don't know if they're going to make an impact this year or not, but they have some that probably could. Um, and then of course I can't remember how many transfers they have,
I know they got Corby
but
Otis.
that they did, and she was real good last year. So
Yeah,
they got them coming in. So hopefully they can turn it around. Coriolis. Coriolis not a pitcher though.
this is true. This is true. I don't know. I'm excited. I like watching Florida. Like you said, they're just exciting to watch. Lots of pop on that team. Always has been. Just a good team, fun team to watch. So I want to see Florida go a little further than they did and just have a better overall record for sure.
Yeah, if they could not wear those football jerseys though, that would be okay with me.
Oh, jerseys are a whole different topic.
All
Whole
right,
different conversation.
all right. So,
To the
prob
Wildcats.
yeah, to the old Kentucky Wildcats, probably the team that I feel was least deserving on this list, sitting at a whopping 31 and 22 and one
And one. And one. Gotta have
on
a
the
tie.
year with a 10 and 14 conference record. They get an at-large bid and they go 1 and 2 in the Evanston Regional. That's Northwestern for those of you who don't know. And they get put out by Miami, Ohio. What are you doing?
I Miami, Ohio, man. That's real tough. Kentucky, they're just not a team that I would give an at-large bid or at-large. Not sure what just came out of my mouth. At-large bid to in this situation. I mean, 31, 22, and one. Okay, so be it.
Kentucky got an
But
at-large bid because they're Kentucky, they're an SEC school, and they have a very large fan base.
huge fan
That's
base.
it. That's it. I wouldn't put money on this because I'm not a gambling man. I don't like to lose money. Um, but if I was a gambling man, I would put money on if Kentucky had finished the season at like 27 and 26, they would have got an at-large bid.
Which is a little bit of a load of baloney, if you ask me. Again,
I don't
there's
know though.
other
I
teams in the group
maybe
of five that
there were other teams in the group of five that were much more deserving than Kentucky. Um, but I may be speaking out of line here because there is one team that we will not mention until we decide to just talk crap. Um, yeah, South Carolina gets an at-large bid. They go 40 and 22 on the year, 9 and 15 in the conference, but then they get hot in the conference tournament and make it all the way to the finals,
bang, bang,
right?
bang, just knocking
Finals or
everybody.
semis?
Yeah. No, no, no. Finals. They played South
Finals.
Carolina. They played Tennessee in the finals.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, so they get hot. They finish the year with a really good record. Um, and they go 3-2 in the Tallahassee regional and get put out by Florida State, which expected. Florida State's really good. South Carolina, I wouldn't say had proven
Hot
themselves
streak.
up to this point. Yeah, but they got hot at the right time. So 3-2, that means they took a game from Florida State in the finals. They forced a game too.
Right. Well, I mean, and don't
Yeah,
forget when they played in the conference finals in the against Tennessee, it's not like they were blown out. I mean, they lost one game by 2 runs.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, again, for a 40 win season is really good. That's indicative of a good ball club. The conference record, you can just kind
Whatever.
of, yeah, it's not good, but you can kind of throw it out of the window. Um, Solid ball club. They were deserving of that at large bid. I feel like just came up short against the Florida State team, a really good Florida State team. Ole Miss gets an at large bid. They go 32-28 on the year. That is trash.
I
It's
would agree.
it's way better. It's not way
I'm
better.
taking Kentucky over Ole Miss.
I'm taking Ole Miss over Kentucky just because I live in Mississippi and you do too. So I don't know why you're taking Kentucky, but
I got family in Kentucky, that's why.
you live in Mississippi.
Yeah,
Crooked
but I
letter,
mean,
crooked letter, humpback.
but 32 and
Afro
28,
man's a
come on.
bomb. Yeah, it's abysmal. 8-16 in the conference. It's bad. Um, but I mean, they go 2-2 in Utah's regional. They
And
get
Utah's like
eliminated by
huge.
Utah. I mean, they get eliminated by Utah in the finals. But I mean, we talked about them earlier. Ole Miss eliminated Baylor, who
I
also had a
guess for that,
terrible.
yeah, yeah, they did not.
Baylor had a terrible conference record. They were 8-10 in conference, but they were a 40-win team.
Yeah,
So to say Ole Miss was terrible is
false.
it's not true. Yeah, I mean you beat a really good team. You beat a really good
So,
team in regionals.
so if you think Kentucky instead of being put out by Miami, Ohio, if Kentucky's put out by Utah, does that change the stance a little bit?
The issue is Kentucky was never in that regional.
Well,
So let's look.
obviously.
Let's look. Kentucky. So Kentucky was in Northwestern regional with Miami, Ohio, Northwestern, obviously,
Obviously.
and Eastern Illinois.
It
If
probably, if we're being
Kentucky,
honest, should have been Kentucky Northwestern.
if Kentucky had done what Ole Miss did and made it to the finals and got put out by Northwestern, fine. You had a terrible record, but you gave forth a really good effort against a really good team and you got put out. But that's not the case. You went to this regional and you got put out by I don't want to say a subpar team because I don't remember what Miami, Ohio's record was and all that stuff. I don't think it was like super impressive or anything. Um, but like you got put out by Miami, Ohio. Like you should feel
You should feel
like
like you, in the first place,
you
just
sh-
deserve more for yourself. Like, honestly. Like,
yeah, you should feel like you just threw a huge opportunity down the drain and you'll never get it back.
yeah,
Like so if you're a Kentucky Wildcat this year,
redeem yourself.
no. I mean, yeah, but don't expect to go 31-22-1 again and get into a freaking regional.
Yeah.
Like, do better. Ole Miss, you did really well in regional, I would say. I mean, you lost to a really good Utah team. But like, do better. 32-28 is not cutting it. Just freaking do better. And lastly, we got Mizzou. Mizzou goes 35-26.
It's better than Ole
That's the
Miss.
Tex. It is. It's better than Kentucky. That's the Texas A&M one where we were just kind of like,
Yeah.
like it's a little worse than Texas A&M. 7-17 in conference. Again, conference in the SEC doesn't really. It's not indicative of much. Um, but I just feel like Mizzou is a better ball club than this. 2 years ago, they were up there.
Oh yeah.
They were really good, and 3 years ago they were really good, and then this past year, like it's just kind of like what happened to Mizzou.
It just
Um,
kind of fell off out of nowhere. No, I guess maybe not out of
yeah,
nowhere, but kind of out of nowhere.
I don't know. Maybe they had some girls transfer out because they were like it's too cold up here. Transfer down to Florida. Um,
That's how they got all the that's where it came
right?
from.
Yeah. But Mizzou gets the at-large bid. They go to Norman. They go 1-2. They get eliminated by Cal Berkeley. Like it's
Michigan.
just yeah, exactly. Battle of the mediocre teams. And Mizzou just it doesn't mean more to Mizzou. Never has, never will. Mizzou shouldn't even be in the SEC. It doesn't even make
Mizzou's
any
got to take that
sense.
game. They Cal Berkeley, come on.
Yeah.
Golden
Yeah.
Bears and Tigers and Lions. Oh my.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, for those of you
So
that didn't notice, though, there is one team from the SEC that is missing.
State.
Yeah, State
Oh,
was
Miss
the lonesome team to not make it from the SEC.
sitting
Maybe
at the
things will
house,
change this
boy.
year.
Sitting at the house.
Yeah, maybe things will change this year. Who knows? SEC
Mm.
though, that I mean, the whole softball world, everything's always
If
up for
Mississippi
grabs.
State, if Mississippi State would stop just taking the Neshoba Central's team and just making that their team
That is what
and
they do.
and and actually going out and recruiting, yeah, maybe they'd be better. But
Until
we'll
then,
see. Yeah,
until
we'll
then.
see. No, that's not a knock on any Neshoba Central girl. Y'all are stout, but you're not the best players in the country. Some of you might be, but all of you aren't. So I'm just gonna leave that one out there. Mississippi State, Jay Johnson. What was? Oh man,
Oh, I
Tyler
know who you're talking
Bratton.
about. Yeah,
Tyler
yeah.
Bratton. If y'all are listening, I mean, you don't have to listen to me at all, but we might want to pick some girls from somewhere else. We might want to. Might
Home
want to.
state girls aren't always the answer.
I hear Florida's pretty nice this time of year. Might want to scoop up some recruits. Look at the old TP. That's the transfer portal, not toilet paper.
Toilet paper is the only. I'm like, toilet paper? What does that have to do with anything?
Uh,
Oh, man.
oh, man. But that'll wrap up this episode. We'll catch you next time on Yellow Ball.